Wickedness in the world and the faith of Noah. When humanity began to multiply upon the earth, beauty and ambition grew alongside it. The sons of God, captivated by the daughters of humans, married as they desired, disregarding restraint or divine will. In this time, the Spirit of the Lord warned of humanity's fleeting mortality. Their days would now be limited to 120 years, a somber reminder of both God's mercy and His judgment. At the same time, mighty figures walked the earth, the Nephilim, known as heroes and men of renown. Despite their fame and strength, humanity's heart was darkened. God saw the great wickedness of the human race, where every thought and intention of their hearts was continually evil. The Creator of all, grieved and heartbroken, reflected on the corruption of the world. In sorrow and regret, He declared His intent to cleanse the earth, wiping away not only humanity but also the creatures He had lovingly made. Yet amid this widespread decay, Noah stood as a beacon of hope and faith. In a broken world, God's favor rested on one man. Let us reflect on this. Even in the darkest hours, grace is extended to those who walk humbly with the Lord. Noah's story begins with the extraordinary power of righteousness. He was a blameless man among the chaos of his generation, and his life offered a striking contrast. While his contemporaries were consumed by corruption and violence, Noah walked faithfully with God, teaching us that faith is not shaped by circumstances but by our determination to obey and trust the Creator. Noah was a husband and father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. His righteousness was not limited to personal piety. It touched his family and those around him. Imagine the kind of faith it takes to stand in such stark opposition to the culture of one's time. His example challenges us to ask, are we willing to walk faithfully, even when the world around us is moving in the opposite direction? Are we prepared to trust in God's promises, no matter the challenges? The state of the earth broke God's heart. It was filled with violence and corruption. Yet even as He planned the floodwaters that would destroy all life and sweep away evil, He envisioned a plan of renewal and covenant. God spoke directly to Noah, inviting him into a divine partnership. He instructed Noah to build an ark, meticulously detailing its design. The ark was to be not only a vessel of survival but a symbol of salvation and restoration. In its structure and construction, it reflected God's promise to preserve life and His faithfulness to see His creation redeemed through obedience and trust. Noah's acceptance of this covenant required profound faith. Consider for a moment the sheer enormity of the undertaking. Constructing an ark of such size without modern tools or evident purpose in the face of ridicule would have felt impossible. But Noah obeyed, demonstrating resilience not just in action but in unshakable trust in God's instruction. God's instructions reflected His care for every creature on earth. He commanded Noah not only to protect his own family, but also to preserve 2 of every living creature, ensuring the continuity of life in the wake of the flood. Furthermore, God instructed him to prepare provisions for both his family and the animals. Through this story, we see that salvation comes through faithful obedience. Noah didn't waver. He didn't doubt. He did exactly as God commanded, choosing a path of trust rather than fear. And because of this, Noah became the vessel through which humanity and creation endured. This part of the story prompts us to reflect on our own lives. Are we prepared to act when God calls us? Are we willing to trust in His plans, even when they are beyond our understanding? Through obedience, not only do we draw closer to God, but we also become participants in His divine plans for renewal. While this story is one of great judgment, it is also one of incredible hope. The floodwaters didn't have the final word. God's covenant did. Noah's family entered the ark, not with despair but with trust that God's purposes were good. From destruction came renewal. From obedience came salvation. For those of us who face overwhelming challenges in our faith journey today, this story reminds us of God's unchanging nature. He is just, but He is also merciful. His plans are not arbitrary, but designed for growth, redemption, and eternal hope. The example of Noah encourages us to live as vessels of God's faith and covenant. When the world feels full of chaos, violence, and despair, we are called to stand firm like Noah, trusting in the promises of God and walking faithfully with Him. As we ponder this story, let us take time to reflect on what it means for our lives. Are we living in ways that please God even in the face of a broken world? Do we trust him enough to obey his instructions without hesitation? And most importantly, are we willing to carry hope and faith into the storms of life, knowing that God's covenant endures? Noah's journey inspires us to live boldly in faith. Just as God entrusted him with the task of preserving his creation, so too does he invite us to be part of his ongoing work in the world today. Let us walk righteously, trusting in his grace and believing in the promise of redemption to come.